Hey guys, thanks for tuning in, and today we're checking out the KingKong Fly Egg 100mm. This is the 130 size if you want one that's a little bit bigger, but this is the little 100, tiny little quadcopter race drone, and we are going to do a full review on this. We're going to unbox it, inspect it, set it up, do a full line of sight flight test, and also an FPV with commentary flight test like I normally do. Gonna make it in depth and see how this thing does. So let's get started. Alright, cool. So KingKong is great at giving us these little Tupperware boxes. I really love how they're doing this. Here's the propellers. So these are definitely smaller propellers than the 130 version. These look like little 2-inch propellers, one white and one yellow with the hardware there. And they also give us prop guards, so awesome. KingKong is great at giving you, if you're a beginner flyer and you just want to have prop guards on, they give you the extra hardware, washers and everything, if you do decide to do that. And also motor guards with hardware, so amazing amount of stuff you're getting with your package. Because this thing does come with no motor guards and no protection pre-mounted, so if you have some experience you're not going to need to put those on, but if you do want to kind of have a little more crash resistance, definitely put the motor guards and or the prop guards on. I think it's going to be either or. I'm not sure if you can put them both on at the same time, but here it is. So there we go. Take the sticker off the top, this little stocking sticker, and there we go. So with the Fly Eggs you get this cool aluminum machined guard here with these cross standoffs. There's a little FPV module. Here's the monopole FPV antenna just linked onto a tie strap like KingKong normally does. Of course these are monopole antennas, so you're not going to be the best when you're going behind things and stuff, but some of them work great. We'll see how this one works. The little motors, I forget what the KV is, but that will be in the instruction manual we'll check out in just a second. Here's the FPV camera, so a nice looking FPV camera. If it's anything like the KingKong 90 GT, this thing is going to rip. Pure carbon fiber single plate frame with a stack in the middle for our flight controller and also our power distribution board with all our ESCs and everything integrated. It looks like a 2mm about frame, so that's going to give us some very good rigidity and strength for crashing and stuff, and we can see that we do have the frame protruding out a little bit to protect those motors, so everything looks good. All the hardware is awesome. This one has a pre-mounted FR Sky receiver in it, so perfect. So I can easily just bind it to my Taranis QX7, go into beta flight, set that up, nice and easy. The cool thing about these little Fly Eggs is they have little beepers integrated, so you're going to be able to find that in long grass. Just bind a switch to the beeper on your transmitter and there you go. When you lose it, it's going to beep loudly. Now these guys, they have this little warning on here and it's saying to only use 2S. They're saying something about the KV is so high that they don't say anything about 3S, but they say to use a 2S. So I may just stick with 2S on here just in case. It looks like maybe 3S might be a little more with it. I'm not sure if anybody's done these on 3S, but it seems like they should be able to handle it. They seem like pretty robust little racing drones, so maybe I will try it on 3S just for giggles at the end or something. But anyway, there's our board, and we've got a little micro USB port to plug in to configure beta flight, and everything's stacked in there nice and tight. A couple of LEDs on the back for a little orientation or when you're racing so people can see your craft a little better. Anyway, that's the drone. I'm going to put that on the side here for a second. Put it right up here on the Taranis. And let's see what else we get in the box. So a little micro USB cable for configuring beta flight. Put this little camera cover back on there. And of course, just like all of them, we get 2 rubber bands to hold the battery. We get a propeller removal tool to help you remove the propellers. Of course, the propellers are screwed on, but they also are push on partially. And then a little VTX Legend for channel changing, tells you what the color codes are, and a 350 milliamp hour LiPo, 7.4 volt 35C. So this is the exact same LiPo that comes with a 130 millimeter size. So we'll see how that works with this one. It's cool because they're going to be interchangeable. I have a couple, so I'll be able to do some thorough flight tests with these guys. And then we have just the manuals and stuff. So we've got just a little manual on the little micro XM FrSky receiver in case you need some literature on what to do on that. Of course, it's already connected, so you shouldn't have to. And here's the main manual. So it's kind of a English and Chinese together manual. And KingKong is, man, they're doing pretty good. They've really got the right price, and they're really making sure that everything is covered in their manuals and everything. So this has a 25 milliwatt / 100 milliwatt video transmitter. There's the 130, and the one we have here is the 100. So they're giving you like one manual for both. You get a diagram of the flight controller and the power distribution board. Everything looks good, and you know, they really break everything down for you, and they give you a parts list. They show you which way the propellers are turning. So for a beginner and an advanced pilot alike, it's a thorough, nice color manual, and it also goes through a quick little guide on how to set it up in beta flight. So you are covered with this guy. So I'm going to configure this thing to my radio, charge up the battery. I'm probably going to be using some Amway or Fat Shark type goggles, and I'll be recording that for you on the screen, and also doing a line of sight flight. Since I have a few of these batteries, I'll be able to do a pretty thorough flight test with you guys. Oh, looks like I'm holding the wrong one. So the 130 is going to be another video. Here's the 100. So let's do a thorough flight test with the 100. I'm sure there's going to be some slight handling differences between the two different sizes, but very similar. So let's get out there and fly this little bad boy and see how it does. Okay guys, so here we are in the backyard. This is going to be a fun backyard review today. I'm just at my house, and I've got a few batteries here. I'm going to use, first of all, the one that comes with the Fly Egg 100. And we're going to do a quick little line of sight just to see how it performs. It's a little bit windy today. It's coming in about, 0 to 5, coming in from this direction. Kind of variable, but I think it will be fine in this amount of wind. So we're going to pop in one of these 2S batteries. We're going to do a little quick line of sight. Then we're going to slap on the Sky Zone goggles. I'm using these Sky Zones today for this one. I'm going to record the FPV for you. We're going to put in another 2S battery, and then I've also got a 3S charging in the house. I'm going to slap that on, and we're going to see how it does with 3S. It should be fine because the GT95, which is basically the non-aluminum version of this, the non-Fly Egg version, did perfectly on 3S. Did really well. So I'm going to do that last just in case there's something that blows up on it. I've been using the X7S recently a lot, but just wanted to, since I already had this bound a while back to this quad, just wanted to test it with this. What I would recommend doing with all these controllers, unless you like really tight springs, open this thing up, and there's only 4 screws you have to take out. Open it up carefully, back off the tension springs on the gimbal sticks, and it will really let you control your craft a lot smoother. At least that's what I like. A lot of people like that. Some people like a little tighter. I like it as loose as possible, just so it still recenters. If you go too loose, you're going to get too much play in your sticks, and you might have some problems. So just loose enough to where they're still going to come back to center with the spring. So I recommend doing that for some smoother control. Anyway guys, let me get this thing booted up, and let's do a line of sight, see how this thing does. It's just got a rubber band holding the battery in, so just want to kind of be careful. I'm just going to put this thing in, and with this one, for some reason this model here has a balance plug that's coming out of the craft as well. So I'm not sure if they're still doing that. I think possibly the newer generations are giving you a JST or XT30 plug. So maybe something you might want to modify off the bat first off, if you ever want more power like on 3S and stuff and a higher C batteries. The cables are pretty thin going out to this balance plug, so just be really careful with that. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of tuck this JST, since this isn't being used, tuck it just right over in the rubber band here, just so everything's tidy and we're not getting any wires in the propellers. So first thing we want to do is turn on the Taranis X7. Let that thing boot up, and then we're going to power on the quad. Also, the receiver antenna is coming out the back, so make sure that thing isn't being crinkled up or going up towards the propellers. Make sure that's out, and then also the FPV antenna is up high enough. Just plug it in, just like that. Let that boot up. We can already hear a beeper on it, so hopefully it beeps when it's low voltage. And for this one, let me see, here we go. So this is what I have set to the arming. You can see how the propellers are going to spin when it's armed. And then I believe this is my rate of flight. Yeah, so you hear those beeps there. So we're gonna have self-leveling mode or attitude. They're gonna have horizon mode, which is basically self-leveling, but you can still flip. In attitude, you can't do flips. And then all the way to air. I forget if I have air or acro. Hopefully when we put on the FPV goggles, we'll be able to see what that's in on the OSD. Anyway, arming in just regular attitude mode for our first little lift off. Give it some power, lifting off. There we go. So nice and quiet little guy, even with these blunt nose propellers. Get a nice little close up here. Nice yaw rate too. That was full yaw for a second there. And you can see that how I have changed the LEDs in Betaflight. You see them here. You see how when I push left, the left one is blinking yellow, right one's blinking yellow. When I push forward, they're both blinking yellow, and then when I pull back, they're just red. So you can do little cool things like that in Betaflight just by plugging into the craft when you're setting your modes. They're pretty cool. What I want to do really quick is do a punch test just to see how much punch this thing has on a pretty full 2S battery. So a hover to a punch right now. Okay. So 2S. Not a whole lot of punch, and you can hear that low voltage beeper. That's because this is a kind of a low C 35C battery. I do have a 60C 2S in there, and I think I'm going to be putting that one in for the FPV flight. That'll be, I think that battery was from the Armor 90 I just am currently reviewing. Anyway, full pitch forward. That's what we can expect. Pretty good. Whoa, we're already getting a low level beep quite a bit. And I think if there was one con about these, that's one of them. Of course, the balance plug to plug in and also the battery is kind of too low of a C rating they give with these for how much these things can do. But you can see that they're giving us about, I want to say 30, 35 degree pitch and roll. Already hearing that battery. Let's see if it turns off. Now it looks like it's probably time to land this thing. One more shot of the yaw here before we land. That's our full yaw. And of course you can go as slow as you want. A little bit windy, a little bit of flutter. Slow to fast. So a really good yaw rate. I'm really liking that. Really smooth. Everything seems to be fine with this one. Very well tuned. So I'm going to land here. Let's go over to the table. Sorry about the beeping so much. Just going to land it. Set her on down. Disarm it. And I think that's going to do it for the line of sight. Of course, this battery is going to have a little more punch. Let me just see if you guys can see this. The ones that come with the KingKongs are 35C C rating. And you see this one here that came with the Armor 90 is 60C. So almost double the C rating, which is going to give better burst current. And you're not going to hear that beeping quite as much, and possibly a little more flight time. Anyway, let me get the goggles up on and put this battery on, and let's do our FPV session. Then we'll try a 3S after that. I'm turning on the recorder right now, double clicking the small record button. We're ready to go. So let's grab this controller. That's our arming, of course. Okay, yeah, so I also did a beeper on this one. You hear that beeper? So it's just a temporary switch I assigned for a beeper. So it's really great that KingKong has all of this functionality on these little minis. So without further ado, guys, without burning too much battery power, let's get up here and fly. So we're gonna arm and just take off in attitude, then switch right into air mode as soon as possible. Don't see any OSD, bummer. I was hoping there was gonna be an OSD, but I don't see anything. Switching into acro, I guess. I'm not sure if I'm in acro or air mode. And let's see what we can do. Wow, so far so good. Look at this, nice and clear. This thing is speedy. Whoa. Of course, I did adjust the camera up a little bit from the stock height, guys. I adjusted it to, whoa. I almost took it out on that tree. Oh, punch. I adjusted it up to about 35 degrees. I think it came stock at about 20 degrees. Oh, got bugs crawling on my feet. Anyway, this thing is feeling really fast and peppy. Just look at this. Oh my gosh. Whoa! A little too fast for me right now. If you're flying too fast, It's probably because your camera is tilted a little too far up, guys. So if you can't handle the flying, this fastest is almost too fast for me. Either, you know, take it easy on your pitch, but then if your camera's pointing too high up, go ahead and lessen your camera pitch, put it down a little bit so you can fly nice and easy while still having a nice horizon. But I think it was just me. I'm just kind of anxious, and so I would just try some flips and stuff. Woo! Nice. Oh, punch. So a little bit lacking in the punch with a 2S. It's still doable. It's definitely pretty smooth, but you can already hear that beeper going off when I punch it. So these are going to be pretty short flights, it seems like, with the 2S. But look at this thing just whipping around. Let me whip around this way and come back the other way around the house. Great range and barely any breakup. Look at this. Wow. Yeah. Having a blast. And it's really easy to fly with these controllers, and if a quad's tuned this good. Okay, I'm looking for that constant beep. You hear how it went off when I let off the throttle? So it's almost time to bring this thing in. Man, this thing is incredible. Whoa, I was trying to do a trick, but I just messed it up. Go down and do some spinning. Whoa, oh, okay. Disarm. Holy crap. Oh my goodness. Hey, guess what? Let's see if we can rearm and fly up to us. Nope, I can't even rearm. Let me let it sit for just a sec and try to rearm. That was a gnarly crash, but I still have our video feed. Okay, I'm armed. And I can fly! Hey! Wonderful! I'm gonna land it right on this trampoline if I can. I think we're pretty much it for battery power. Okay, landing, disarming. Let's see what the damage is. I did hear some prop rubbing on something, and then we'll slap in that 3S and really have fun. Okay, so just picked it up off the trampoline, didn't touch anything on it just yet, and this is how it came off of the roof in that gnarly crash. I'm going to show you what happened. So the battery slightly skewed, nothing bad at all. It's totally manageable. That was a big crash. It went right into the side of the house, rolled off the roof, and back into the grass. I do think I did kind of pull up like this and did hit the roof like this, so maybe a little less damage than if I just went straight into the roof like that. Let's see our propellers. So front propeller, not bent. Oh, okay. Whoa. So it looks like the wire, look at it. So this is possibly something you might need to do, is tape down these wires a little better. You see how this one came up in that crash? You do not want those wires to hit the propellers, that's for sure. This one looks like it really nailed the roof hard, but it still seems like it's going okay. This one's got a little bit of scuffing from those roof tiles as well. This one might be a little bent, this propeller. I just want to make sure they're all straight. And this is the major one that was bent. Look at this one. So this one bent all the way down. The other two look fine, but it bent down pretty far, and I'm just going to try to bend it back up. Look at that. No breakage, just gonna try to bend it up. Hopefully that holds on the 3S. We'll see if that just disintegrates. But besides that, look at this, everything is fine. Camera's not even scratched. This thing has such a good tank of a shell with its aluminum bars that you're really not gonna hurt anything in these electronics or anything, and that aluminum is not gonna break unless you smash it with a hammer. So cool. Let's make sure all these props are leveled out, and let's slap that 3S in and get to go on one more flight, and then we'll do a pros and cons. Anyway, this is the battery I'm using, the 3S Nanotech, Turnigy Nanotech. This is a 450 65 to 130C discharge burst, and this is a 3S, so we should be getting a lot more power with this, a lot better punch outs. Okay guys, I don't know why I thought I could fly it without changing this connector, but obviously 3S is not going to fit into a 2S balance, which this thing comes with, unfortunately. So really quick, what I'm going to do is, excuse the mess, it's crazy, it's the holidays and I got everything everywhere, but I'm just going to put on a JST connector in place of this little 2S balance plug. I was thinking I probably should put an XT30, the mini XT60 type, just for more current. But look at the wire is so thin anyway, I'd have to change the actual whole wire to get any use out of the full potential out of the XT30. So I'm just going to cut this off and go ahead and put a JST on here, because most of my 2S batteries and most of my 3S I have here all have this JST. So I'm just going to go through that with you real quick, little solder session before we fly with the 3S. Okay, so I want to keep relatively the same length of wire, so I am just going to go ahead and cut this just behind the black shrink wrap of the existing one here. See if we can handle this with these banana fingers. Anyway, snipping those away, we got a red and a black wire left. We're going to want to trim, of course, the sheath off of these very carefully. So we can, I'm just going to do basically solder in place in line. So I want to get more than normal kind of off of these, since the two wires are kind of be touching side by side. I always go ahead and just twist mine. Some people say don't twist yours, but I twist it just so there's no crazy stray wires hanging off. So twisting that a little bit, that's ready to go. And of course the shrink wrap, I always go ahead and just buy this little pack of mini shrink wrap tubing just to have around. Really handy, you can get them pretty much from everywhere. I'll have a link to that in the description, and also to some JST connectors if you want to check that out. But anyway, I'm just going to cut these, you know, pretty close to the JST, right about there. It seems about good. We want to do the same thing with these wires. You guys that know how to solder, obviously, you know how to do this. But, man, this wire looks really thin. I don't even know if this is even going to work, but let's just try it. Okay, not bad. It looked thinner inside the sheathing. So I'm just basically not trying to cut any wires, but cutting away the sheath. These do look copper as well, so a little bit better conductivity. And so we have two pieces that we need to put together. So what we need to do is get our flux on there. First thing I like to do though is, before I get any goopy flux or anything, is I like to put on my heat shrink. So you don't want to go overboard, just enough to cover up that joint. And so I'm thinking right about here, just maybe a little bit extra to go over it. And this one right about there. So those are the two pieces I'm using of heat shrink. Now we want to slide this down first off before we do anything on both wires. And you want to get this far enough away from the heat where they won't start to close unintentionally. And you want to be pretty quick with your solder so that the wire doesn't heat up very quickly. First thing we want to do is get our flux. This is just a little flux paste thing I got from my local hardware shop. And just getting some flux, not much at all, just a little bit on the bare wire on both ends. The connector you're going to put on, and also the one on the quadcopter. That's probably a little bit too much, but it will sizzle away. Okay, then we want to solder these on really quick. First we want to tin them. What I like to do is, let me get this solder iron. This is just a Weller soldering iron I got from my local hardware store as well. So we want to heat this up. This thing is awesome. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but it's just like this little thing to keep the tip of your soldering iron clean, and it works phenomenally. It's just a little soldering tip cleaner you can get for a few bucks. I'll have a link to this stuff in the description again. I've found that thing so useful because it just cleans it so quickly. You just dab it in real quick. This soldering iron is pretty cool too. It has a little light on the front, so it lights up what you're doing. There we go. So we got a green light here. So immediately I want to kind of clean it and get the tip tinned real fast. So again, sorry about my completely disgusting work area, but I want to get solder all over the tip here. And I want to kind of hit it off so some of the solder falls on the floor. And that thing is tinned on the tip. And then really quickly, while this is hot, I just want to tin these wires. You can hear the flux is sizzling away. That one's tinned. I'm going to get just a little bit more solder on the end there. And you want to do this quick so your soldering tip does not corrode. So those are done, both of those, as far as tinning goes. So before I do anything, I want to flick off my tin there. I probably shouldn't be doing this right above the power bar before solder gets in those plugs. So see what I'm doing? I'm just really quickly just pushing this into the cleaning sponge there, and you just want to quickly solder this together. Might want to put a little more solder on the tip here, just in case. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so we'll do our red first. Get them up against each other. Boom, that's it. Real quick, so you don't melt. Maybe even blow on it, so you don't melt the heat shrink tubing up there. Okay, the other one, it definitely helps if you have some kind of a holder. I'm not using a holder right now, like a helping hands holder. I'm just doing it as quick as possible. Boom, done. Blowing on it, getting that solid. Good enough. Not perfect, but you know what? To get out there and get flying for this review, turning off the soldering iron, and I always like to unplug my soldering iron as soon as I'm done soldering, just in case like a kid switches it on or somebody that will not heat up. Okay, so we have our JST on here. We have the solder joints look great. I'm just going to slide these heat shrink over. So you really want to make sure you're centered in here before you even apply the heat, because it is going to shrink wrap right onto there. So propeller's in the way, but oh well, let's do it. Give it a quick hit. Burn the fingers a little bit. There we go. So just enough heat to melt them on there. Don't need to get too radical. People say try not to touch the flame to the heat shrink, but I do anyway. It makes it a little bit blackened, but who cares? At least I know that they're all shrunk down. They're good. So there's our finished product. We have a JST connector, perfect to plug in these batteries in, and it's all tidied up. And now we can go fly. Let's get out there and fly, guys. Okay, guys, now that you've witnessed the fastest soldering job I've ever done, let's get this thing plugged in and see if it even can handle the 3S and get flying. There we go. Let that boot up. I do not want these to get in the propellers. What I might even do is real quickly shove it under this rubber band. There we go. That looks like the way to go. That way nothing's hanging out for the propellers to hit. So far so good. Nothing's burnt out yet. Let's cross our fingers that this thing works. Anyway, let's arm and lift off and then switch right into acro mode and see what we can do. Arming, lifting off, right into acro. There we go. Woo! Oh yeah. I'm already feeling a crazy amount of more punch with this thing. I'm also probably going to get in a little more trouble if I'm not careful. Like that. Whoa! But it does have some power. Woo! Oh my gosh, it's so much faster too. Woo! Zipping around. You see though, that you're going to get a little bit of jitter there. And that's normal. That's just normal. The wind hitting the props like crazy. Wow, so you can race this thing on 3S, guys. Look at this. Wow. Man, sorry about that. It's just so fast. Let's do a punch. Hearing a little bit of beeping. Wow. Look at this range too. Just phenomenal. Of course, this is FR Sky, but just that little. I'm just trying to take it easy now. Of course, the camera is pointing up, so when I try to go nice and slow, the camera's up a little high. Let's take it easy on our controls here. There are bearings. And just try and zip around a little more before this battery. I do have one more of these batteries charged, so I may even throw in one more flight with this. See how you can go nice and easy with it once you kind of settle down, no problem. And then you can zip as fast as you want, of course. Oh, okay. Survived that crash into that tree. I'm not hearing any propellers hitting things. Let's go listen again, bring it around. Yeah, it seems fine. It's just so fast. Try a couple tricks. Whoa! Gotta work on my tricks, that's for sure. I'm not really a freestyle kind of guy. Okay, I hear this thing beeping constantly. Oh, then it stopped. Okay, if you hear it beeping constantly, go ahead and give it a little throttle off. And then if it stops and it's not beeping like it is now, not beeping, you're okay to fly around a little bit more. Just because the voltage is sagging. Phenomenal. This is it, guys. Get one of these. If you're at the stage of having your own controller and you're ready to delve into a bind and fly setup, get something like this. There's a bunch of different sizes too. This is of course the 100, I believe. There was the 95 I reviewed. This one's going to be a little more durable. This is like a tank with those aluminum bars. But they tuned it so perfectly, as far as I'm concerned, just out of the box. And look at this. I crashed right into a tree branch and I'm still flying. Okay, now we're hearing a constant beep. You hear that? Oh, it stopped. Let's just fly slowly for a while until we got to come in. Of course, when I punch it, it's going to beep again. Hello. Beeping's kind of intermittent now. Zip around. Just fantastic. What a load of fun, guys. Woo! And you've got that 3S punch with this thing and it can handle it. I was almost not getting out of situations with the 2S, but with this 3S I can just punch out wherever I want. Okay, time to land. So I don't ruin these batteries. It's so hard to see where to land with this camera up like this. Woo! Okay, landing. There we go. And disarm as soon as possible, because when you're in acro air mode with the prop spinning, it'll freak out a little bit. Fantastic. You know what I'm going to do? If you want to stick around, I'm going to pop on that other 3S and get a little bit more radical. Let's go for it. So goggles are recording again, so you can see what I'm seeing in my view. And let's get up here and maybe get a little bit more crazy and a little bit more fun with some acrobatics, since we know this thing handles so well. I know this neighbor's not home. Let's fly around here, see what our range is like. Whoa! I don't know if that's acrobatics or just loss of control, but mainly just my fault, because I'm still learning every day. Still trying to get better. Woohoo! Every day getting better. Man, this thing flies so good. Punching all the way. That's full throttle punch. Look at that. Awesome. 3S is the way to go on this one. Look at this camera too. The camera is excellent. I'm not getting these drastic shadow problems, even though it's like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's go out here a ways. All the way to the road. Awesome. Look at this. Punch up. Woo! Look at that, man. Look at this punch like crazy. Fantastic. Really loving this thing, guys. Whoa! That I punched hard because I was losing FPV behind the neighbor's house over there. Whoa! Getting a little bit hot. A little bit fast for what this thing can do. When I go that fast, I'm having trouble turning. Anyway, just really enjoying this thing. I'm surprised I haven't crashed that hard yet. Of course, as soon as I say that, I'm probably going to crash, woo, around that post. Now that's good practice right there. You see that light post? Doing stuff like that, going over, turning fast, going under. Really good practice for your, if you're practicing like gates or whatever. Woo, of course, don't hit the pole. Nice. Whipping it around, having lots of fun. Man, this thing is raceable. I would love to race this little guy. I don't really get out and race much with the boys because I'm doing so many reviews, but I would race this thing. I'm so confident in it. Look at this. It's a screamer. Whoop, and you can punch with 3S. Excellent. Having a blast, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon. It's just so fun for me to do this kind of stuff, especially with a craft that flies this well. Hearing a lot of beeping. I'm going to take it easy on the throttle and see if that beeping stops. Yes, it did. You hear that? No more beeping. Just silence. Oh, a little bit of beeping off and on there. And by the way, at the end here, we'll have this flight time popping up. So when we do our pros and cons, I'll go over the 2S flight time and how that was, and also the 3S flight time, so you guys know, kind of what to expect. Oh, okay, I couldn't save that. Oh, shoot. Okay, I think it was beeping on its low battery anyway. So, pretty resilient though. I was able to hit a couple trees and still go in the last battery. Anyway, let me wrap this up and get this. Let's do a pros and cons. Okay, so just for a use case scenario, my beeper. Great location beeper. And you can find it no problem if it's like lost over in the grass or something, or in the neighbor's yard or in a tree. That works great. So I'm really digging that they have a beeper on here. They're just sacrificing because they don't have any OSD. But look at this. So let's see what's up with it. Any damage? Let me sit down over here on the bench. And let's see if we have any damage from that crash. Wow, not even a bent prop really, maybe just slightly, but everything's fine. So this is the one to get if you want something durable in this 100mm size, guys, and it just flies phenomenally out of the box. It also has, of course, if you lose your connection with your transmitter, if your batteries die or whatever it may be, let's try it real quick. Powering down. There you go. So you have a different beep on transmitter loss. Let me unplug this so it's not beeping in our face. And there we have it. So phenomenal. Good on 2S, but phenomenal on 3S. Just amazing. I didn't even think it was going to do this well. The sky zones did great. I didn't get any fog ups outside here. One of the flights of the other kind of inside quads I did recently, they kind of fogged up just a little bit. Not so I couldn't see very good, but just a little fogging on them when I was inside with no wind. Just depends on if my face gets pretty hot when I'm trying to concentrate, so it just depends. Everybody has a different thing about fogging. But anyway, pros and cons on the KingKong Fly Egg 100. Great craft. If you're ready to get into FPV racing where you're going to get a good Tyrannus radio or something like that, and you're learning how to bind, you're learning beta flight and all that kind of stuff, something like this is the one to get, and this one flies phenomenal. Only con on this, there's two cons actually, not too bad, but first con was it had that 2S connector here, which you're kind of limited to your batteries. Of course you can't do 3S. For some reason on the box it says don't do 3S because of oscillation or something. I believe I saw that somewhere on the box, but as you can see, guys, it did fine. 2 batteries through it all the way through with 3S, and it was just phenomenal. It opened this thing up way up and did great. Second con is there's no OSD in the goggles. You could see me, you could see what I was seeing in the goggles, and you don't have any indication of what your voltage is, any of that stuff, what mode you're in. So you're gonna just have to know what mode you're in on your controller. And also the voltage isn't that bad because it has a voltage beeper. You're not going to be flying these things long distance usually where you can't hear the quad. So the beeper on the quad is just fine in my book. You don't really need an OSD on this. The OSD is more for like hardcore racing quads or quads that you're flying a farther distance, because as long as it has a beeper, you're going to know when to bring that thing in and when it's getting low. So not too big of a deal since it does have the beeper. Everything worked great, very durable. You saw me crashing into the roof, bounced off side of the house actually, bounced off the roof onto these shingles, then it bounced onto the grass. I was able to just lift off and fly again, even with the prop bent at like a 45-degree angle. This thing was able to come back to me and I landed it. I also was coming through hot around one of these palm trees, and I think I nailed the palm frond super hard and kind of lost it. I was able to punch and save it, and nothing was even wrong with it when I hit that. So a very resilient craft and a very good flyer, and it seems like it's going to be very durable. Anyway, guys, we'll have the links to all this stuff in the description. The radios I use, these goggles are doing really good. They've got a scanner on them to scan to the highest channel. They record the video. These batteries, I'll even have those in there if you want. And some of the stuff I was using on my solder station, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? The fastest solder job I've ever done in my life in a review for a mini quad. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.